The woman who promised to love me forever was about to destroy me, but she made one fatal mistake. Guys, I need to tell you something that's been eating me alive for months. My name is Nathaniel Hayes. I'm 50 years old and I run the back-end architecture for a Fortune 500 company. 3 years ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. I was wrong, dead wrong. If you're watching this because something feels off in your own relationship, trust me, keep watching. What I'm about to tell you might save you from the biggest financial disaster of your life. I've been married to Miranda Blake for 22 years. We met in college during my computer science program at Ohio State. She was studying finance, I was buried in code. Opposites attract, right? For 2 decades, I thought we were the perfect team. She handled our money, I handled the technology that paid for our lifestyle. I make $180K base salary plus equity packages. 27 years in enterprise software development will do that for you. I design systems that process millions of transactions daily. I'm good at spotting patterns, finding anomalies, debugging problems that other people miss. But I miss the biggest problem of my life sleeping right next to me. It started on a Thursday morning in October. I've always been an early riser. Comes with the territory of managing servers across different time zones. But that morning at 4:45 a.m., I heard Miranda's voice drifting up from the kitchen. She was whispering, which was weird because Miranda never whispers. She projects, always has. The timeline is perfect, she was saying. He's traveling next week for the Microsoft conference. We can finalize everything then. My blood went cold. 22 years of marriage, and I knew every tone in my wife's voice. This wasn't her work voice. This wasn't her talking to her sister voice. This was something else, something secretive. I crept to the top of the stairs. Miranda was pacing by the kitchen window, phone pressed to her ear. $53,000 is ready to transfer. The rest will take another month, but he won't notice. Nathaniel's too buried in his computers to pay attention to anything else. My hands started shaking. $53,000 what? If you like stories of marital betrayal and epic revenge, like this video and subscribe now. Every day there are brand new stories, each more thrilling than the last. I heard Miranda's footsteps approaching the stairs. Quick thinking kicked in. 27 years of debugging critical system failures teaches you to act fast under pressure. I slipped back into bed just as she opened the bedroom door. "Morning, honey," I mumbled, keeping my voice groggy. "Hey," her voice sounded strained. "Sorry if I woke you. Early call from a client on the West Coast. First lie of the day, and it wasn't even 5 a.m. "Everything okay?" I asked, studying her face in the dim light filtering through our curtains. "Just some portfolio restructuring. Nothing major." Second lie. Miranda worked at a mid-tier financial advisory firm. In 15 years there, she'd never taken calls this early for portfolio restructuring. Not once. The rest of the morning played out like any other Thursday. Coffee. Dark roast, 2 sugars for me, oat milk latte for her. Shower. Brief conversation about weekend plans. But something fundamental had shifted. I found myself watching her differently, noticing things I'd stopped paying attention to after 2 decades together. The way she kept her phone face down during breakfast. How she took it with her to the bathroom, something she'd literally never done before. The slight hesitation before she answered my questions about work. "I'll be late tonight," she said, grabbing her keys. "Client dinner." I nodded, kissed her goodbye like I had thousands of times before. But this time, I was already planning my investigation. Here's where my background in data analysis saved my ass. I didn't just look at our bank statements. I exported everything to Excel and started looking for patterns. 27 years of debugging code teaches you to spot anomalies. What I found made me sick. I wrote a Python script to categorize every transaction over the past 18 months. The results were devastating. Regular transfers I'd never authorized. Always the same pattern. Between 1:47 p.m. and 2:15 p.m. Miranda's lunch hour. Always to the same account ending in 4739. The total? $52,847. The number is burned into my memory. $52,847. Gone. Moved to an account I'd never heard of, in increments small enough that I wouldn't notice unless I was specifically looking. But here's the thing. I kept making excuses for her even with the evidence right in front of me. You know what the worst part was? Even seeing those numbers, I thought, maybe she's planning a surprise vacation. Maybe she's investing in something she wants to surprise me with. 22 years of marriage doesn't die easily, even when it's being murdered. That weekend, I installed monitoring software on our home network. I used Wireshark to track every device, every connection, every data packet moving through our router. In my professional life, I monitor systems for Fortune 500 companies. Now I was monitoring my own wife. The results came faster than I expected. Monday afternoon, while I was in a client meeting, Miranda's laptop connected to a banking website I didn't recognize. The monitoring logs showed she spent 47 minutes moving money between accounts. My stomach dropped when I realized what I was seeing. But the real gut punch came that evening. I was reviewing the network logs when I saw it. A text message backup that had synced to our shared iCloud account. Miranda to someone named Sebastian. Nathaniel's too trusting. 22 years, and he still believes everything I tell him. He won't know what hit him until it's too late. Sebastian replied, "You sure about the total asset value?" Miranda, around $720,000 liquid plus the house equity. His 401k and stock options are separate, but we're looking at close to $1.1 million total. Sebastian, not bad for a computer nerd. My lawyer says with no prenup, you should get at least half. Maybe more if we play the long game, right? I stared at that screen for probably 20 minutes, reading the same messages over and over. My wife, the woman I'd loved for over 2 decades, the woman I'd built a life with, was calling me too trusting to her boyfriend while planning to take everything I'd worked for. If you're married or in a long-term relationship, do me a favor right now. Pause this video and check your bank statements. I'm serious. Look for transactions you don't recognize. Small ones, regular ones. If you find something suspicious, keep watching. If you don't find anything, keep watching anyway, because what happened next will shock you. I spent that night researching Sebastian Frost. LinkedIn showed he was 43, an independent investment consultant with his own firm. His Instagram was full of expensive dinners, luxury cars, and photos from high-end restaurants around town, including at least 8 photos from places I recognized, restaurants where Miranda had claimed to be having client dinners. The timeline was perfect. Every night Miranda said she was working late. Sebastian had posted from some upscale spot around the same time. They weren't even trying to hide it. By Thursday, I had enough evidence to confront her. But I also had enough sense to know I needed help. I called my college roommate, Theodore Brooks. Theo had become a forensic CPA specializing in financial fraud cases. If anyone could help me protect what was left of my assets, it was him. "Nathaniel, why are you calling at 6 a.m.? "What's wrong, Theo? I need your help. And I need you to keep this between us." I explained everything. The suspicious transfers, the text messages, Sebastian Frost. Theo listened without interrupting, which told me everything I needed to know about how serious this was. "How much time do you think you have?" he asked when I finished. "Based on what I overheard, maybe 2 weeks. 3 at most. That's enough time, but we need to move fast. Can you get to my office this morning?" "I'll be there." Theo's office was in one of those glass downtown towers that make you feel important just walking through the lobby. He was waiting with coffee and a thick folder of legal documents. "Okay, here's the situation," he said, spreading papers across his conference table. "Ohio is an equitable distribution state. That means marital assets get divided fairly, but not necessarily equally. The key is proving what's separate property versus marital property." He pulled out his laptop and started typing. "Good news, your 401k contributions from before marriage stay yours. Stock options depend on grant dates and vesting schedules. Bad news, everything earned during marriage is potentially up for grabs." "What about the house?" "Trickier. You bought it together, both names on the deed, but..." He smiled grimly. "If we can prove financial misconduct, that changes everything." I showed him the bank statements and screenshots. Theo's expression darkened as he reviewed the evidence. "This is actually excellent documentation. She's been systematically moving marital assets without your consent. That's financial misconduct. In Ohio, judges don't look kindly on that kind of behavior. So what do? We protect what we can, and we document everything. I'm talking about creating a paper trail that shows every penny she moved, when she moved it, and where it went." Over the next 6 hours, Theo walked me through a strategy that was absolutely brilliant. We established a revocable trust for my premarital assets. Perfectly legal as long as it was done before any divorce proceedings began. We moved my individual investment accounts into protected vehicles. We documented every suspicious transaction Miranda had made over the past 2 years. "The key," Theo explained, "is that everything we're doing is legal and ethical. We're not hiding assets, we're protecting them from someone who's already been misappropriating funds." By the end of the day, I had moved roughly $480,000 into protected accounts. Not bad for a day's work. But the best part? Miranda wouldn't know until it was too late. That Friday evening, I came home to find Miranda in an unusually good mood. She was humming in the kitchen, making dinner, playing the part of the perfect wife. The performance was flawless, if I didn't know what I knew. "Good day?" I asked, hanging up my jacket and watching her carefully. Very good. Actually, I think we should talk about our future, Nathaniel. Here it comes. She served dinner, my favorite, chicken marsala with garlic mashed potatoes and poured wine. The whole production felt like a condemned man's last meal. I've been thinking, she said, cutting her chicken with surgical precision, we should probably update our financial planning. Make sure we're prepared for retirement, you know? What did you have in mind? Miranda reached for her purse and pulled out a manila folder. I had some documents drawn up, just basic stuff to streamline our asset management. I opened the folder, already knowing what I'd find. Power of attorney forms. Documents that would give her complete control over our finances. Papers that would essentially sign over everything I owned to her management. This seems pretty comprehensive, I said, flipping through pages that had clearly been prepared by a professional. It's just to make things easier. You know how busy you get with the server migrations and client projects. This way, I can handle all the financial stuff without bothering you with every little decision. I looked up at her. She was smiling, but her eyes were calculating. Cold. This was the real Miranda. I wondered how long she'd been hiding behind the mask of the loving wife. You know what's interesting? I said, setting the documents down. I actually did some financial planning today, too. Her smile flickered for just a moment. Oh, yeah. Had a long conversation with Theo Brooks. Remember Theo, my college roommate who became a forensic accountant? The color started draining from her face, but she recovered quickly. Of course I remember Theo. How is he? He's great. Specializing in financial fraud cases now. Divorce-related misconduct. That sort of thing. Miranda's hand froze halfway to her wine glass. Nathaniel, what are you getting at? I pulled out my phone and opened the banking app. I'm talking about $52,847 in unauthorized transfers. I'm talking about text messages between you and Sebastian Frost. I'm talking about the fact that you've been planning to divorce me and take half of everything I've worked for. The mask finally came completely off. Miranda's face hardened, and for the first time in our 22-year marriage, I saw exactly who she really was. You were spying on me. I was protecting myself from theft. Good thing, too. She stood up so fast her chair scraped against the hardwood floor. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Nathaniel. Actually, I do. See, while you were busy planning my financial destruction with your boyfriend, I was busy making sure it couldn't happen. I opened the trust documents Theo had helped me prepare. Revocable trust, established yesterday. Perfectly legal. All of my separate assets are now protected from marital claims. Miranda's eyes went wide as she scanned the papers. You can't do this. Already did it. And the best part? I documented every illegal transfer you made. Every text message with Sebastian. Every lie you told me over the past 6 months. She tried one last manipulation, and honestly, it almost worked. 22 years of conditioning doesn't disappear overnight. Nathaniel, we can work this out. We don't have to destroy each other over this. You're right, I said, standing up and looking her directly in the eyes. We don't have to destroy each other, but you chose to start this war when you decided to steal from me. I'm just making sure I don't lose it. That night, Miranda slept in the guest bedroom. I lay in our bed, my bed now, and waited for her next move. The divorce papers arrived the following Tuesday, hand-delivered by a process server while I was working from home. Miranda was demanding 50% of all marital assets, $4,200 monthly spousal support, and exclusive use of the house during proceedings. Her attorney was requesting $12,000 in temporary support while the case was pending. I almost laughed. Almost. I called Maxwell Pierce, the divorce attorney Theo had recommended. Maxwell had 23 years of experience and a reputation for being methodical and absolutely ruthless when the situation called for it. Mr. Hayes, Maxwell said when I arrived at his office. Theo briefed me on the basics. Show me what we're working with. I handed him the evidence file I'd compiled. Bank statements, text messages, screenshots, network logs, timeline documentation. Maxwell reviewed everything with the precision of a surgeon preparing for a complex operation. This is exceptional work, he said finally. Your wife made several critical errors. First, she moved marital assets without consent or disclosure. Second, she failed to disclose her relationship with Mr. Frost. Third, she attempted to defraud you with those power of attorney documents. What does that mean for the case? Maxwell leaned back in his leather chair and smiled grimly. It means we're not playing defense anymore. We're going on the attack. Within a week, we had filed our response to Miranda's divorce petition. We were seeking dissolution based on her financial misconduct. We were demanding she return every penny of the $52,847 she had misappropriated. We were asking for attorney's fees and sanctions. But Maxwell's masterstroke was the emergency motion we filed to freeze all of Miranda's personal accounts pending a full financial audit. She can't spend what she stole if she can't access it, Maxwell explained. The hearing was set for the following Thursday. Miranda's lawyer was apparently Preston Whitmore, some hotshot who specialized in high-asset divorce cases and had a reputation for being aggressive and expensive. Perfect, let him be expensive. Let Miranda burn through her resources fighting a battle she had no chance of winning. The courthouse was one of those imposing buildings designed to make you feel small and powerless. Marble floors, high ceilings, the kind of place where justice supposedly lived. I'd never been in a courtroom before, and honestly, it was intimidating as hell. Miranda was already there when I arrived, sitting next to Preston Whitmore. She looked nervous, which was satisfying in a way I didn't expect. For months, she'd been confident and in control. Now she looked like someone who was beginning to realize she'd made a serious miscalculation. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Wellington. Judge Wellington was probably in her early 60s, with gray hair and the kind of stern expression that said she'd heard every sob story and manipulation tactic in the book. She reviewed our filings with methodical precision that reminded me of debugging complex code. Mr. Whitmore, your client is seeking substantial financial support and asset division. However, Mr. Pierce has presented evidence of significant financial misconduct. How do you respond? Whitmore stood up, straightening his expensive suit. Your Honor, my client was simply managing marital assets in good faith. Any transfers were for legitimate investment purposes designed to benefit both parties. Investment purposes? Judge Wellington raised an eyebrow. Into accounts controlled by Mr. Sebastian Frost, with whom she's been having an extramarital relationship. I watched Miranda's face go pale. Maxwell had done his homework thoroughly. Your Honor, Whitmore tried again, but you could hear the desperation creeping into his voice. There's no concrete evidence of any improper relationship. Actually, there is. Maxwell stood up and handed a thick folder to the bailiff. Text messages, restaurant receipts, hotel records, social media posts, all time-stamped and authenticated by a certified forensic analyst. Judge Wellington reviewed the documents while the courtroom sat in complete silence. The only sound was the whisper of pages turning and the occasional cough from the gallery. Mr. Whitmore, your client has been systematically moving marital assets while engaging in an extramarital affair with the recipient of those funds. That constitutes financial misconduct and potentially criminal fraud. Your Honor, I'm granting the emergency motion to freeze Mrs. Blake's personal accounts pending a comprehensive audit. Furthermore, I'm ordering her to provide a complete accounting of all transferred funds within 15 days. Not 30. The gavel came down with a sound that felt like victory. Outside the courthouse, Miranda tried to approach me while I was walking to my car. Nathaniel, please. We need to talk about this rationally. Talk to my lawyer, I said, not slowing down. This isn't over, she called after me. And for the first time, her voice cracked. She was right, it wasn't over. But she was losing badly, and we both knew it. 2 weeks later, Miranda and Sebastian played their final card. And guys, it was a desperate move that almost worked. I was at the office debugging a critical server failure when Maxwell called. Nathaniel, we have a serious problem. Miranda's team filed a motion claiming you've been hiding assets in offshore accounts. They've got documentation that supposedly shows you've been moving money to banks in the Cayman Islands. That's impossible. I've never moved anything offshore in my life. I believe you, but they've got bank statements, wire transfer records, the whole package. This looks professionally prepared. My blood went cold. You think they fabricated evidence? That's exactly what I think. But we need to prove it fast. Can you get to Theo's office this afternoon? 3 hours later, I was back in Theo's conference room, staring at copies of documents that supposedly showed wire transfers totaling $387,000 to Cayman banks. The transfers were dated over the past 8 months, all bearing what looked like my electronic signature. This is sophisticated work, Theo said, examining the papers with a magnifying glass. But it's fake, and I can prove it. How can you tell? Theo pointed to a series of numbers at the bottom of each transfer document. See these routing codes? They're valid for Cayman banks, but the formatting is wrong for you. S. Domestic wire transfers. The American banks that supposedly sent these wires use a completely different coding system for international transfers. He pulled out his laptop and started typing rapidly. More importantly, look at these timestamps. They show transfers happening at 2:47 p.m. on March 18th. But according to your company's badge records, he pulled up another screen. You were in a client presentation from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. that day. There are 8 witnesses, including your VP. So we can prove I didn't make these transfers? Better than that. We can prove who did make them. Theo's fingers flew over the keyboard with the speed of someone who'd done this type of analysis hundreds of times. Digital documents always contain metadata. Hidden information about when they were created, what software was used, even what computer generated them. The screen filled with technical details that looked like gibberish to most people, but I understood enough to see what Theo was getting at. These documents were created on a computer registered to Frost Financial Consulting. They were generated using a specific version of banking software that's only available to licensed financial advisors. And here's the kicker. He pointed to a timestamp buried in the metadata. These files were created last Monday at 11:47 p.m. Want to guess where Sebastian Frost was last Monday night? I already knew the answer, but I let Theo deliver the knockout punch. According to his credit card records, he was having dinner with your wife at Chez Laurent downtown, the same restaurant where they've been meeting twice a week for the past 4 months. We had them. Not just for divorce-related misconduct, but for forgery, fraud, potentially federal charges for creating false banking documents. What's our next move? I asked, feeling something I hadn't felt in months, complete confidence. Theo closed his laptop and looked at me with the expression of a chess grandmaster who'd just seen checkmate in 3 moves. We end this. Maxwell filed our response to Miranda's offshore allegations the following Friday afternoon. But this wasn't just a denial, it was a declaration of total war. Our motion included Theo's complete forensic analysis of the fabricated documents. It included digital proof that Sebastian had created them on his office computer. It included evidence that Miranda and Sebastian had conspired to commit fraud against the court. Most importantly, it included a criminal referral to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. The beautiful thing about this approach, Maxwell explained during our strategy meeting, is that we've completely shifted the dynamic. They're no longer trying to take your money. They're trying to stay out of federal prison. The emergency hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday. But on Monday morning, something very interesting happened. Sebastian Frost's attorney called Maxwell directly. His client wants to negotiate immediately, Maxwell told me over the phone. Apparently, Mr. Frost is suddenly very eager to cooperate in exchange for immunity from federal prosecution. What's he offering? Everything. Documents showing how they planned this from the beginning. Complete financial records. He's even willing to testify about Miranda's role in creating the fake evidence. It seems Sebastian had learned something that Miranda apparently never figured out. When you're caught red-handed with federal crimes, sometimes the smartest move is to save yourself by throwing your co-conspirator under the bus. What about Miranda? Complete radio silence from Whitmore's office. But I suspect that's about to change very quickly. Maxwell was right. Tuesday morning at 7:23 a.m., Preston Whitmore called with a settlement offer. They want to negotiate, Maxwell told me over coffee before the scheduled hearing. Complete capitulation. No spousal support, no asset claims, no demand for the house. Miranda keeps her personal accounts, her car, and her 401k. You keep everything else. And in exchange, you agree not to pursue federal criminal charges against either of them. I thought about it for exactly 15 seconds. Counteroffer. She pays back every penny of the $52,847 she stole, plus our attorney's fees. And she signs an ironclad non-disclosure agreement. I don't want her trashing my reputation to colleagues or friends. I'll run it by them. 90 minutes later, Maxwell called back with news that felt better than any promotion I'd ever received. They accepted everything. Full restitution, legal fees, NDA, the works. Just like that, after months of warfare, it was over. 22 years of marriage ended with a phone call and some paperwork. The final hearing was more of a formality than a trial. Miranda sat at the defendant's table looking like a completely different person than the confident woman who'd tried to destroy me 6 months earlier. The manipulative, calculating person who had planned my financial ruin was gone, replaced by someone who looked defeated and hollow. Judge Wellington reviewed the settlement agreement with her usual thoroughness. Mrs. Blake, do you understand that by signing this agreement, you're admitting to financial misconduct and attempted fraud? Miranda's voice was barely audible. Yes, Your Honor. And you understand that you're waiving all claims to marital assets, spousal support, and property division? Yes, Your Honor. And you're agreeing to pay restitution of $52,847 plus legal fees, totaling $18,300 within 90 days. Miranda actually flinched at the total, but nodded weakly. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Wellington signed the dissolution order with a flourish that felt like justice being served. Marriage dissolved. Terms of settlement approved and entered into record. The gavel came down one final time. Outside the courthouse, Miranda approached me as I was walking to my car. She looked older somehow, worn down by the weight of her choices and their consequences. Nathaniel, she started, then stopped. Don't, I said firmly. Whatever you're about to say, just don't. We're done, Miranda. You made your choice when you decided to steal from me. You made your choice when you planned to destroy everything we'd built together. Now you get to live with the consequences of those choices. I walked away without looking back, and for the first time in months, I felt completely free. 8 months later, I was sitting in my home office, the same office where I'd first discovered Miranda's betrayal, when Theo stopped by with a bottle of bourbon and some news. "Thought you'd want to know," he said, pouring 2 glasses of Maker's Mark. "Sebastian filed for bankruptcy last week. Turns out his financial consulting business was mostly smoke and mirrors. Your ex-wife really knew how to pick them. What about Miranda? Working as a bank teller in Columbus. Apparently, most investment firms aren't interested in hiring someone with financial misconduct on their record." I felt a brief moment of something that might have been pity. Then I remembered the $52,000 she'd stolen, the months of elaborate lies, the fake federal documents, the systematic attempt to destroy everything I'd worked for. The moment passed quickly. "You know what's funny?" I said, taking a sip of bourbon that tasted like victory. "She almost got away with it completely. If she'd been a little smarter, a little more patient, she might have taken me for everything and disappeared with Sebastian to some tropical paradise. But she wasn't smarter," Theo pointed out. "And that's what saved you." He was absolutely right. In the end, Miranda's greed and overconfidence had been her downfall. She'd thought she was dealing with a naive husband who trusted her completely. Instead, she'd underestimated someone with 27 years of experience solving complex problems under extreme pressure. Today, I'm in a completely different place. I've been dating Aurora Sinclair for 10 months now. She's 42, a high school principal, and she knows my entire story. When we opened our first joint checking account last month, she insisted we both have full access to everything. Complete transparency. It's the only way I can move forward. Winning felt empty, honestly. I'd protected my assets, yes. Miranda had to pay back every cent plus legal fees. Sebastian lost his business license and his livelihood. But I'd also lost something I can never get back. The ability to trust completely. That's a price they can never fully repay. But here's what I've learned. You can build something new and better from the ashes of betrayal. You can learn to trust again, carefully and intelligently. You can find someone who sees partnership as something to build together, not something to exploit for personal gain. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and leave a comment to let me know what you think. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified about new stories like this. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.
I'm freezing. I'm bleeding. Slowly fading away. But don't worry, I'm fine. The cold has settled in my heartbeat, like winter living in my veins. Every breath feels numb and fragile. Every smile just hides the pain. I'm breaking quietly in silence, falling slow without a sound. Yet I keep saying I'm okay, while my world burns to the ground. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. Maybe pain just learned to live here. Maybe sorrow feels like home. So I wear my wounds like armor and survive them all alone. I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. If you ever see me smiling, no, it's just my last defense. 'Cause Sometimes love means hiding how much you're suffering. No, I'm frozen here, I'm bleeding slowly, dying piece by piece inside. But I still whisper, it's alright, just to keep you from goodbye. I'm shattered, love, but don't you worry, I'll pretend till my last breath. Even while my soul is fading, I'll say everything's okay. It's okay.
Some days feel off, like I'm standing but still falling. A little pain, a little tired, and no one to tell it all to.
There are days that feel unsteady, like I'm drifting out of place. Every step just feels so heavy, with a smile I have to fake. A little hurt I keep inside me, a little weight I always hide, and 1,000 quiet worries I've been holding deep inside. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. I keep walking through the silence like it's all I've ever known. Every crowded room reminds me how it feels to be alone. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you. Maybe one day I'll be stronger, maybe I'll learn how to speak, but for now I keep it buried in the parts of me too weak. There's no one here to tell it to, no one who would understand. So I carry all these feelings like they're slipping through my hands. A little broken, little lost, trying hard to just get through. All these nights I stay awake with everything I never say to you.